Hello, this is Eric Rangel, and this video is going to walk through the disk image of the Father's Day greeting card. Okay, I'm recording this as an ikinoscope using a surface pointing at a TV. So let's boot the floppy, and you could press Control-C. Press Control-C a few times, and it'll stop the program as soon as it starts up. Okay. So let's take a look. All right, so this is the first startup program. Okay, so let's take a look at it. All right, it prints some text and then goes subs 100 to center the text, and then it goes to 1000. And here is where it's loading what it needs. Now this uses Mockingboard Speech, which you will not be able to hear in this Virtual 2 emulator. The sound you will hear because it emulates a Mockingboard. Okay, so the speech phrases are Happy Father's and Day, and they're loaded at addresses 6000 hex, 6100, and 6200. So that is the speech phonemes, whatever they're called. So if you have a Mockingboard C, or which Mockingboard that supports speech, it talks in the manual how you generate phrases from the phonemes, and it's quite amazing for its time. Okay, then there is Extra.Screens, which is a Beagle Brothers program. So let's look at the catalog. I'm going to go into 80 column mode. There's Sun on the upper left corner, but this is what's on the screen. So there's start2 is the next file that's going to run, and see that pictures file has all the crops of the pictures, and Extra.Screens is loaded at address 4000. Music construction set is loaded at 8500, and let's see, there's the speech is 6D00 at the top of the screen. So let's load start2. And let's walk through it. Okay, so there's high-res graphics and call 4000, the 1684. So that is initializing the speech, and then goes to the bottom of the screen with VTab 22. So now we're recalling pics. So let's see what that does. So the Extra.Screens uses the ampersand vector, and then it does a go to 100 to skip over this subroutine here. So see, the poke 249 is the low byte of the address, and poke 250 is the high byte. So 96 is 6000, 97 is 6100, 98 is 6200, and that is where the Happy Father's Day phrases were loaded. So the go sub 50 is a call 27904, which won't work on the emulator, and 60. So on a real Mockingboard, peak 255 will become 0 when the speech is done talking, because it's interrupt driven. So it's in a loop until you press, until that peak becomes 0. So what we're going to do for the emulator is instead of line 50, what we're going to do is print character string 7. So you'll hear a beep. Okay, and then for line 60, we're just going to remark it out. We'll just delete it. Okay, so now now we can actually run the whole thing. So if you want to save this on your disk image, you could save it as start2, or let's just say start debug. All right, start debug. Okay. Wow, this feels like a real floppy disk. Oh my. Oh, that scratchiness, oh boy. Okay, so catalog, we have a start debug, which you could load whenever you want to debug this. You just have to run the startup program first. And if you want, let's do this. Let's change the startup program to run start debug. And then let's run the whole thing. Okay, let's load startup. Okay, and 1060. So let's see if this works. Escape. Yeah, and the arrows. Then the space bar. And then we're going to say just run start debug. So this is your disk image. You do whatever you want with it. All right, and save. Startup. All right, so now you'll just hear a beep whenever it says speech. You saw in the previous video it actually said the speech because that was a real Mockingboard. So let's reboot. Perfect sounds. Wow. Okay. And the timing of the disk drive load. Okay, so let's observe. Okay, that would say Happy Father's Day. And then the animation is going on. And then Dad comes up from the bottom. Now that is a Mockingboard sound. Now, this Mockingboard emulation didn't quite get the ocean noise right. I mean, you could hear the ocean, but there's some like helicopter or some noise in there too. So I'm going to make it a little lower. Okay, here comes the shark. Now it's, you see the way it is cutting out the tail of the fish above it? That's the blue fish. So you see the shark is a square with black, and then it left a trail going down. So this is just block animation. So you're hearing where the speech would be said. Okay, Dad comes down, and now an alligator sits on him, and now this nice little animation at the end. Probably took hours back in 1987. And now it's playing the music, Beatles' Blackbird, which was entered into music construction set and saved there. And there's a file MCS on this disk which will play any music construction set file. Okay, so now it keeps playing until you press a key. And press the key on the Apple keyboard. There we go. All right, so list. This is the program that we're looking at. Okay, all the animation and the sound and music is in here. Okay, so to use Mockingboard Speech, you'll have to save your phrases. I think there's a speech editor in the Mockingboard. For Extra.Screens, I'm going to have to look up how you cut portions of a high-res picture and save them. I'm sure it's in the manual. I just haven't used it in years. Okay, so apparently I put all those pictures in a block called pics, a blob. Okay, so now looking at line 100, load Porgy, that's one of the fish, and load the sign. So X is 13 to 27. So let us see. So that Porgy is the big fish, and he's moving, let's see, 13 to 20. So you only get about 30 positions on the x-axis, depending on the graphic that you're using. So let's actually go into high-res and look at that. So let's load Porgy at 13.1 and the sign at 1.1, x minus 12, okay? So what's great about this, you can interactively do this. You go to high res, and let's see if we do that amper. Okay, recall pics. All right. Okay, let's see here. Amper recall pics. Alrighty. I don't know if I have everything loaded. No, it should still be loaded. Let's try this. I think I could just do a load porgy. Okay, my ampersand vector is hosed. All right, let's reboot and stop it as soon as it enters the second program, and we'll trace it from there. Okay, you can stop it. If you hit Control-C right away, we can break it before it starts running startup. And we should be able to just run 1000, and let's take out 160 for now. Run 1000. Okay, we're doing all our B loads. And we have extra screens. We've loaded it. We haven't invoked extra screens. So let's load start debug. Okay. All right, so we have to call 16384. That's extra screens, and then we could do the recall. Okay. Extra screens, 1985 Alan Bird. Thank you. My dad thanks you. Okay. Now we do the amper recall. So that's the only disk access needed at the start of the program. Now we go to HGR and load Porgy at 13,1. And you have a fish. Amazing. He is in color. I don't know if it's coming through on the video. Okay, so it's really just math. So let's look what happens if I load him at 14.1. Let's do 14,1. So he swims 1 pixel, 1 unit over to the right. So by pre-shifting your shapes, making sure that there's enough on black on the left, that will do that. It'll look like animation. Now let's try something. Okay, we're in HGR, and let's call -151. Ah! And let's do 2000:7F. And let's do 2001 goes to 2000.3 FF8 move. I don't want to interfere with extra screens. All right, now let's do load Porgy. Okay, so that was some machine language monitor commands to move memory and to set the high res to white. So you set one location to white, and then you're bastardizing a move command to do what you want. All right. Now let's load Porgy at 12.1. So now you can see it's a black pre-shifted shape. So that's a good experiment for people to do. Load dad at 10.10. Okay, so now the vertical y coordinate is an actual number of pixels. So dad has room at the top and the bottom. So if you wanted to make dad run around the screen, you could do it like in Logo, move right, down, left, up. That's a little experiment kids could play with. And load alligator at let's say 15,100. Okay, cool. So have your kids play around with that. Just making a little diagram. Okay. So you got a lot of shapes to play with animals in here. And the other videos, there are other pre-shifted shapes. Okay, so you get the idea how the animation's running. Let's look at this a little further. So all this is animation code, just varying X and Y coordinates to do the animations. Now, let's look at this in 80 column mode. Okay, look at lines 140 and 150. Are they exactly the same? Yes, they are. So on line 160, I said, okay, I'm going to do a delay. I'm going to do a loop from 1 to 2 for the whale and the goldfish. Okay, but I didn't go back and clean up my duplication of code when I was 17. So sorry about that. Okay, so now we load dad from the bottom up. So the y coordinate 121 to 35, he goes up to the top of the screen. I don't know how you'd get that any faster with a for loop, unless you do it in machine language. You make the ampersand vector call. All right. So now go sub 20,000, and 20,000 is our beep routine, our gong. Let's look at that. Okay, and what is great is the instantaneous feedback you get if you just type go sub 20,000. Okay, and notice that while that sound is playing, you have control back in Applesoft. So let's do this. Let's try something. 4x equals 1 to 10. Go sub 20,000. Next. Okay, so it is not waiting. You heard those juts. Yeah, so it was not waiting. You heard the X for loop. It only waited a little bit. So we're not waiting for this sound to complete. But, okay. I mean, there's some interrupt logic going through like it. So here the beep is normal, but let's do a go sub 20,000 and see if we hear a difference in the beep. Oh yeah, go sub 20,000. No, there's no difference in the beep there. Okay, so that's Mockingboard sound. So let's just look at that a little closer. Yeah. Okay, the gong. Now, this Mockingboard is assuming it's in slot 4, and luckily the emulator has it in slot 4, and my real Apple has it in slot 4. If you don't have it in slot 4, you're going to have to set that C4 to something else. And if you calculate, that's the C400, 5176. So we're poking C403 with a 255 and a C402 with a 7. And then we're poking C4 with a 0 and C4 with a 4. So you see that this is really hitting the control registers of the Mockingboard. There is an asynchronous communications adapter chip that I believe that's what's in it. So there's a reset command, which is the C403 and C402. And then you see what we're doing with the C40, it's zeroing out, and then it's setting a bit. The number 4 in binary is 100, right? So that third bit is getting set. And then the remaining code, we are poking registers. So we're setting the first register to 0, and the data we want in register 0 is 18. Then go sub 21,000. It is actually modifying the register, the R equals R plus 1. Oh boy, was I bad. So we poke the register 0, and I'm looking at 21,000. And so the C401 is what you're passing in your register and your data in. And then C4, which is the C400, it needs a 7 and then a 4. And then okay, so 7 is 111 and 4 is 100. So that 7 is indicating that you're setting a register, a value. And then that 6 is a 110, and then 4 is a 100. So that second bit, flipping it from 1 to 0, it's like a toggle switch to say, okay, I'm setting up my data in C401, but now I want to actually toggle it into the chip. So that second bit with the third bit, that's the 6, 110, that's the signal to take it as a data byte. and 4 to give it a flipping bit. So you're really playing with the lines on the pins of a chip there. It's quite fascinating. And then I'm going through each register. So yeah, so there's an 18, then a register 1 is a 2, register 2 is a 40, and that is the gong sound. Okay, so let's play that again. Go sub 20,000. So you could write a gong show game. Okay, now let's look at 10,000. Okay, now here you could see what lovely variable names I chose for dad equals 0 to 15 read mom. Oh boy. This is another, this is the whale, the shark, the oceans. This is the ocean sound. So in the Mockingboard manual, it has some parameters for sample sounds, or maybe I just ripped this out of one of the demos. And there's a sound utility where you could play around creating different sounds and save them and reload them. So you got to get the Mockingboard manual. I'm sure there's a PDF of it out there somewhere. Okay, so 5176 is the same idea as 20,010. The same exact thing that we're doing to initialize, and yeah, initialize, and then we're reading data. The data in 10,050 are the 16 registers that need to be poked, and they poke them exactly the same way. So I could have done this in a better way, reusing code better, but I was in a hurry to finish this before Father's Day in 1987. Okay, let's do that. Go sub 10,000. Oh no, they're coming for us! It's supposed to be an ocean. Should we report this to support of Apple Virtual 2? Okay. Now, okay, so it's not interfering with my beeps. I believe the speech program does take interrupts that interfere, so I think it's driving this is just driven off the sound card. Now, how do you stop the sound? Read the manual or play another sound. You probably have to reinitialize the Mockingboard. Okay, but that's up to you to play with. It's a good exercise. Try to figure out how to stop that routine in 10,000. So let's see. Let's look at what we're doing here. The swan and the whale, the goldfish and the bluefish. And then there's a delay so that bluefish gets loaded. And then we start the line 280. We are go subbing 10,000 to start the ocean playing. And then we load the goldfish. Oh, we are flipping them all around, I think. Yeah. So a nice exercise would be to make the fish swim, like going to the right and then flipping around and going to the left. So you see there's gold.r and gold.l. So yeah, so you have to pick the correct image depending on what direction you're going. Now the shark in line 298. Okay, what I want to show you is we're going to run 298, but we're going to go to high res, but we're going to go to full screen high res. So what I want to do is call -151 and CO52 to get full screen high res. Now I can't see what I'm typing, but Control C, and I'm going to say run 298. Okay, so there are actually 2 sharks. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so one of them sinks. Yeah, you saw 2 tails. And now, because the tails were slightly above, I mean the fins, the dorsal fin was slightly above the 40 column, the 4 lines of text. And now the shark is coming up. And at a certain point, it is going to go down. And now it continues. Okay, so that's Happy Father's Day. So you could follow this animation logic. But just a little clever hack of showing a shark fin in the water. Okay, and now let's look at how music construction set plays. Okay, so let's go to that at the end of the animations. Okay, shark. Okay, so there's okay, the ducks and the alligators, sharks, the whale. Okay, go sub 10. Okay, go sub 20. Okay, so it's line 620. Okay, so we're loading. Okay, so the music construction set in the song Blackbird is at 7,000 in hex. So if you want to try to hack, figure out how it's organized, you could go 7,000.7080 and try to figure out how the music is encoded in that structure. I'll keep you busy. Let's see. Okay, Blackbird. So we're poking a 5. So if you look at that 34060, no, okay, 34051 is where the machine language is loaded for the MCS program. So 3460 is a little bit after it. So there are a few jumps that started off, and then there's a data byte. We're poking a 5, and that's actually a speed. So this is pretty cool. We're going to play the. Okay, so what I want to show you is I have to find out where that MCS gets loaded. Now I could cheat and look for MCS in here and see that it gets loaded at 8500. But don't tell your kids to do that. What you want them to do is figure out how to convert that number into hexadecimal. So how do you take 34051 and how do you get the first byte? Well, it's really 256 times 250, or 16. Yeah, 16 times 16 times 16. Okay, so the first byte is an 8. Then what you have to do is get the remainder after dividing by 8 times 16, 16, 16, 34051 minus 8 times 16 times 16 times 16. So now you have 1283. Now you divide that by 256, which is 16 times 16. And you get a 585. And print 5 times 256. That's 1280 and 03. Okay, so we're actually calling, so let's look at that. 8500 is the initialization of MCS, and then 8503 is what we're actually calling. So let's do this. 8500 list. Okay, so the first thing it does is jump to 85B1, but then 8503 is what we're calling. Now let's just try this. 8503 go. Let's try this 8500 go. Let's look at this again. 8500, 8503. Let's try 8506. We stopped it. 8500 go. Oh boy. 8503 go. Now let's try this 8512. Change that 5 that we poked in to a 3. That's a speed control. 8512 2. Okay, on a real Mockingboard. Okay, you hear the emulator catching up now. Now it's generating, it's going crazy with all the interrupts. Okay, let's slow it down. Now let's let's try this. Control G. You could hear how your beep is getting interrupted. So you got to explain to your kids how fast those interrupts are happening, that even in the process of creating a beep, it is getting interrupted. Now we've actually lost the half of a channel for some reason. Okay, so let's try this, rebooting it and just doing the music construction set. Oh, now we're really confusing the emulator. It's running interrupts while trying to reboot a disk. Are we crashing the disk? No, it's read-only. Okay, we have to do a control reset. Okay, welcome back. So all I did was reboot, and we loaded all these things. So we've actually loaded music construction set, or did we not? No, we didn't. Let's load, start, debug. Okay, list. And when we get down to the music construction set logic right there. Okay, so we're going to just do these commands. Bload MCS, and that's at 8500. Bload Blackbird, comma A $7,000. Oh, we wish we had that much memory. Okay. Now that's your speed control. So what I want to do is an experiment. So let's say we write a line of code 30,000, input speed, okay, semicolon S 3010. All right, poke 34066, comma S, that's your speed, and then 30020. Call 34051, and then call 34060. That's what stops your music. Okay. So then what we're going to do is put 30030 input. Press enter to stop. Semicolon E. All right. And then 3040, call 34060. And then go to 30,000. Okay, you understand what I'm doing? I'm getting the user to type in the speed they want, start the music playing, and then it's going to hang at that input until they press enter when they want to stop the music. And then it'll stop the music with the call 34060 and then go back to 30,000. Okay, to do it all over again. So it's doing its loads. Oh, no, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to run 30,000. Okay, a speed of 5. Ah. Okay, what's wrong with it? All right. Okay, I bet there's something not loaded. Oops. MCS. Let's bload MCS. And bload Blackbird. My A $7,000. And let's do a go to 30,000. The evil go to. Okay, so that's the speed that it normally uses. Now I want to stop it. Yay! Now let's go speed of 4. Nice. Speed of 3. Just thinking of... So that Mac emulator is trying to keep up. Now let's try 2. Just thinking about it. Do I really want to do this? And do we dare do 1? Yeah, it's trying. So you want to teach your kids that audio can be a good debugging tool. Let's try just 10. And then let's get Control-C to break out of that. And you hear the beep. Oh no, how do we stop it? Okay, call 34060. So teach your kids that hacking away at something like this is just as much fun as anything else they're doing. Okay, signing out. Till next time. Eric Rangel.